Well, good morning, everyone. Pastor Corey Rowland here with Yerkesville First, Midvale, and Newport United Methodist Church with a devotional to share with you out of Romans 8, verse 18. And it says, "Yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory he will reveal to us later. For all creation is waiting eagerly for the future day when God will reveal who his children really are." And that's, again, 18 and 19. I forgot to mention 19. But so verses Romans 8, 18 to 19 talks about this idea of yet the suffering we have now is nothing compared to the future glory. I love this verse because yes, we on this earth have many struggles. We who live here, and your life maybe is a testimony to that struggle. You maybe have sickness or disease or cancer or the death of a loved one. And yeah, the list goes on and on and on. Sometimes our problems can just stack up to the moon. But what Paul is saying, the application that Paul is saying is that this present suffering is not even worth comparing to the future glory. When we are standing in heaven and we are face to face with Jesus, we are face to face with God, we're not even going to be thinking about what we suffered in the past, what happened in the past, because we will be overwhelmed with the glory of God. That is how wonderful heaven is, that this present suffering is not even worth comparing to the future glory. So yes, there will be sacrifices here and now. Yes, there will be trials here and now. But it's not even worth comparing to what we will get in the end. This is not all there is. This is merely a stopping point. This is merely a kind of like a precursor to our true life, our true home, which is heaven. And just a little story about this verse. One of my famous pastors I listen to, Dr. David Reagan. He's probably the foremost prophecy expert in my mind. I listen to him quite a lot. His wife was very, very sick, had severe memory loss and other issues to the point where she stopped. Eventually, she stopped talking. She stopped moving, and his life was very hard after that. Every night he'd come home, his wife couldn't talk or move. He had to feed her. He'd have to work and exercise her arms and her legs so her muscles wouldn't atrophy. And yet, you would never know this by looking at him or talking with him. I got to meet him once, and he was a guy who had overwhelming joy. When you saw him talk, he just had overwhelming joy in the Lord. And up until he shared this story about his wife, none of us would have ever known that was going on with his wife because he was just so happy. And he told us, he said this verse in Romans 8:18, "Yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory we will reveal later, or he will reveal to us later." He said this was my wife's verse, and every night before we went to bed, when she was, struggling, when she was suffering, even when she couldn't talk, he said I shared this verse with her to remind her that this is not all there is, and that the suffering here is nothing compared to what we'll receive later. He read that verse every night to her. They had memorized it, and he said it to her every night because he wanted to remind her, and he wanted to remind himself that yes, this life is full of many trials and tribulations and sorrows, but it's nothing compared to the future glory. So understand, this is not our home, but we have a home with God in heaven. Amen.